Dart Talk carries the Internet Broadcast Rating TVD, a broadcast that is specifically designed to be viewed or heard by the darting community, and therefore may be incomprehensible to other lesser mammals. Darter discretion advised.
It's time for Dart Talk, brought to you by thedartzone.com. Stay in the zone. TheDartZone.com is an official Cosmo distributor, and Windy City Fabricators, America's premier fabricators of orthotics and prosthetics, and Redwood Darts, America's newest tungsten darts. Stand straight and tall and hit them all. Redwood Darts. And now, here are your hosts, Mystery Mark and Steve P.
Okay, welcome to Dart Talk.
Welcome.
I made it.
We're here.
Yeah, almost. Hi, everybody. Steve Ponselman with Mystery Mark and Chat Room Girl. Dart Talk brought to you by the Dart Zone.
Stay in the zone.
DartZone.com is an official Cosmo distributor.
Is that the longest you've gone silent?
I'm telling you, it was hard, though.
Sorry.
I did
Go ahead.
make a couple noises.
I
But
forgot what I was saying.
Also brought to you by...
Oh, yeah, Redwood Darts
Yeah.
and Windy City Fabricators. Thank you very much. How you doing?
I'm doing well. How about you?
Good. How was your weekend?
Not too bad. Nothing too exciting.
Mine was varying degrees of misery. How about you,
Yeah.
Chat Room Girl? How'd you?
my weekend was fantabulous.
Okay, we should probably start.
She was
with
in
you.
Litchfield,
She
correct?
was in Litchfield. Let's run the
Litchfield.
disclaimer real quick
Oh,
before
please.
she speaks, because I don't even know what. Where's our disclaimer? What happened to it?
Oh, you better find it.
Okay.
The views, opinions, rants, and rampages expressed on Dart Talk do not necessarily reflect individually or collectively those of our sponsors, co-sponsors, wannabe hosts, hearing-impaired critics, or those with a penchant for attitudinal dysfunction. We at Dart Talk strive to provide you, the listener, with an educational, entertaining, and fun-filled experience each and every week. If after the show you, the listener, find yourself feeling uneducated, unentertained, and or bored, we at Dart Talk consider that your own problem.
Okay.
I like that.
Thank you
About
very much.
sums it up.
Kiwi Warrior provided us with that. So anyway, let's start. We have a lot. We for the show today, we've got results from Madison, Wisconsin for the America's Tour Stage 2 for Darts Live.
Darts Live, right.
Also, we got DPNY results of
Event
number
6, yes.
It was at The Rock. Wish I could have been there for that. Also, we have results from the Darts for Kids they had in Litchfield. We'll get a report from Sassy on that. Excuse me. And we finally will be able to run this interview. I sat down with Ryan Barnett in Nashville after the Music City Classic was over. And I think everyone's going to find it very interesting. You know, Ryan's not a guy that a lot of people know. And I think they're going to like what they hear. So I'm looking forward to that. We could talk about
nice.
some of the things he says there. Let's start with Litchfield. Let's start with the
Litchfield,
Darts for Kids.
Litchfield, Illinois.
Ooh,
So we'll get
Litchfield.
Chat Room Girl in on this one. So
All
how
right.
was it?
It was a great, great time. The tournament was a success. Last year, their goal was 10,000. This year was 15,000. I'm actually going to read, if you don't mind, something from Tammy Hudsick that she put on her Facebook to everybody that attended Darts for Kids.
Read away.
All right.
Is
This is
it in English?
I'm going to try to.
Okay.
What if I mind?
All right. Well, it's a democracy.
Yeah,
it's
I mean,
2-1.
go ahead.
Unless
Oh.
my vote counts for 3.
All right. All right, please go ahead.
Whatever.
I have our
It's
I
so
have a
hard to
proxy
focus with
from
you
our
two here.
sponsors.
It's so hard to focus with you two here.
Right.
Whatever.
Anyone can broadcast
This
under
is from
ideal
Tammy
conditions.
Hudsick.
Tammy Hudsick.
Tammy
okay.
and Bob are big supporters. They have the Darts for Kids. And she said, let's see here. I
Okay.
just want to say thank you to all the wonderful people that came to support Darts for Kids yesterday. It was another success. It has become so close to my heart, and I hope that it continues to grow. My heart grows with every child we are able to help, and it makes me so happy to be part of all this. As of right now, they'd raised $13,660.50. this year for Darts for Kids. This wouldn't be possible without everyone pitching in and working together. And I have an update. Actually, we're over 14, close to 15,000, so they've almost hit their goal for this year.
Well, that sounds
Awesome.
good. We're actually showing a picture that somebody took of like everybody that attended the event, I guess.
It's almost everybody. There were 154 dart players.
Hey, I think I know that guy.
Over 300 attendees at one point in time.
Okay.
So we couldn't get everybody in one picture, but that's kind of the main shot.
Awesome.
So
Okay, you
the
got
kids were
results
there.
for us?
The results are the kids are the winners.
Okay. Awesome.
That would be the.
So do they still have money coming in from
They actually
continuing donations?
do. They do. They have a website. You can actually donate. So monies are still coming in.
Okay.
The kids were there.
What's the website?
Ezekiel, Mallory, and Noah were the 3 kids this year that Darts for Kids is helping out.
Ezekiel, Mallory, and
Noah.
Noah.
Yep. Great.
Ezekiel,
What's the website?
Mallory,
Darts for Kids?
Darts for Kids.
Dartsforkids dot something.
Com.
You want to look that up, and then we'll.
Yeah, I'll look that up.
.org.
Okay. Yeah, if they're still soliciting donations, go ahead and put a link, or is there already a link on our Facebook page?
There's already a link on there.
Okay.
It's on the event page, I believe.
All right, so if people want to donate, they can still do that. That's
Yeah.
good.
So, yeah, it was a great time. Started around 1. 154 players, played 3 legs on each side, and it was done by 10:30, 11 o'clock. So not too shabby. It was ran really, really well.
You played. Oh, you mean in the losers bracket and the winners
Yeah.
bracket? You played 3 legs.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And I even played two side draws.
Two
so
side
it was,
draws.
So it was ran really well. Lots of good times, lots of good people.
It was ran really well.
Yeah.
Sounded like she said it was raining really well, but I knew what you
It
meant.
was run well.
It was running well.
It ran well. It ran well.
It ran well.
Okay.
You could run to the
yeah,
well.
there's your English lesson for the day. Thank you very much.
You could run to the well
We aim to inform.
with a bucket.
I got a bucket for you.
I
do
ain't,
too.
I ain't
Um,
understanding.
I got a bucket for you too.
She's been like this since she walked in at 5. I got to tell you.
Well, you know, payback's bad. Some karma.
Karma. Oh, gosh. Anyway,
So
well,
yeah,
good. So
great
it was a
weekend.
success.
Yes.
It's too bad that there was some overlap,
Yeah, there's some
with other
tournaments.
events going on and stuff.
How many years have they been doing this?
This is their second.
This is the
annual.
second year? All right.
Yeah, and I just
That's
talked to Bob before the show, and next year they're planning even bigger and better things. So, be looking for 2014. They're already starting. They're doing garage sales and yard sales and all kinds of things to raise money for next year already.
I mean, maybe they should like piggyback on something. Like maybe they should do it like on the Thursday before the Blueberry Hill, when you got all these people coming into town anyway to do a tournament. Why don't you do a Thursday night tournament right before Blueberry Hill and get some extra
Yeah,
people in there?
A lot of people can't do it on a weekday. So,
Well, they played league darts on weekdays all the time.
yeah, but people are traveling from out of town.
All your
getting off
volunteers
work
and everything. Who knows? I don't
Yeah.
know.
Well,
I mean, I understand the
don't-
concept, but
Well,
Absolutely.
I don't know how
And it
many
was-
people travel. I mean,
There were quite a few from all around. I mean,
right, but like people that travel to Blueberry and stuff, and people like me that will drive 8 or 9 hours to a tournament. I mean, sometimes I'll try to get there a day early, just so I can kind of recover from the drive, and then
That's
it's
what-
always by
yeah.
the time you get there at 3, after 3 hours of taking a nap, you're kind of like, maybe I'll go throw somewhere. So
yeah, I think they're trying to get
You
the
know,
date
those
out really
warm-up
quick.
events.
Get the date out quick again this year so that things don't get overlapped again.
well, have them talk to Rob Heckman at Darts Live
I'm
and
sure
make
Bob
sure they
is.
don't
Yeah.
overlap again. I mean, this is the problem with all the decentralization and everybody doing their own thing.
right.
Is that, how do you avoid conflicts, right? You're going to set your date now, and then what? Everybody's supposed to miss it? I mean, it's almost impossible, and I see this is going to happen more and more, and at first I thought it was good. At first I thought it was like, the more options players have, the better off the players are going to be, but now I'm starting to think, well, now, wait a minute.
Yeah, but you're
We
still
need
going to run
Yeah,
into
but-
problems anyway
Yeah,
because
you're
of
still gonna run
venues. I mean, the
into it.
venue.
Well,
But
Yeah.
I got to say this though.
You know.
Out of all the players that were there, the general consensus was we were there for a benefit, and
Well,
we
yeah.
were there for the kids. So, if you're gonna go if you want to go.
Well, like I would have went if it wasn't the fact that I was committed to
Right.
playing Darts Live, and,
And
I'm
that's
sure
why
other
they're-
guys would
yeah.
have too. So,
that's
what
why
I'm-
hopefully people will look at the calendar.
yeah, I think the point that I'm trying to make here is that because everyone's doing stuff on their own, it's hard to coordinate this stuff and avoid each other's
Right.
weekends. We've had this issue now for 3 years with Grand Rapids and the Lake Erie Classic were on the same weekend a couple of years ago, and they're like, 3 hours apart. So, there's a tournament I can drive to, and I have to pick one. I mean, those are the kind of things that I would like to avoid, right?
Separate weekends.
Grand Rapids is the same weekend as Darts Live in Vegas in September. So now, here's another local tournament I like to go to. The people are great. It's less than a 3-hour drive, and, I'm going to miss out because I have to go play somewhere else. I mean, as much as I'm all for, people having options.
Well, do things like Darts Live, do they happen like the second weekend of January and the third weekend of August, so they're going to try and do it every year, or is it just okay? We're going to do Darts Live in Vegas in August this year, and then they pick one of those 4 weekends.
Well, there are certain tournaments that are kind of always the same weekend, but because Darts Live is new, they haven't really set a tradition or something like that. Like the Ray Chesney, right? And this is the second year for Darts for Kids. Like the Ray Chesney's been going on for 25 years, and it's always the first weekend after New Year's Day.
Okay,
so you always know when the Ray Chesney is, right? Like next February, I believe, Shoot the Moon in Huntsville, Alabama, which is like become one of my favorite tournaments, is the same weekend as Syracuse, which is, to my mind, the best run tournament I've ever been to, and now I have to choose between those two.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't want to I want to be able to go to as many as I can. So if there's any way we can somehow coordinate stuff where we don't have these conflicts, I think everyone's going to be happier. Right? You had the NWDS the same weekend as White Mountain, and I told everybody last year the one tournament I wanted to make this year was White Mountain, and then I couldn't go.
And you couldn't go, yeah.
So, I don't know. I don't know that.
Well, anything to make Steve's life easier, right? No, I'm just kidding.
Look, it's
I
all
know what
about
you're saying.
me.
I know what you're saying, though.
No, seriously. I mean,
yeah.
There are, when it comes to the tournament players, there aren't that many. There's a finite number of people that are willing to travel to tournaments. I mean, you're going to talk to Ryan Barnett in a little while. Here's a guy who travels 35 weekends a year. I mean, there aren't too many people doing that. But, from what I can tell, like everybody who's really into the game is going to go to a few. Right, you'll go to the one, whatever your hometown one is, and then you go to one a few hours away, stuff like that. The people on the East Coast have a lot more 4 or 5 hour drives. In the Midwest and the West, I mean, forget about it.
Right.
It's
a lot tougher.
It takes a real commitment if you're going to be traveling to tournaments. All right, let's take our first break. We'll come back. We'll talk some Darts Live, Madison, Wisconsin, Stage 2 America's Tour stuff. You're listening to Dart Talk with Mark, Steve, Chat Room Girl. We actually have an audience, too.
We do have
a live
an
audience. Somebody from the chat room popped in to watch the show.
Yep.
And we'll probably never be in the chat room again. That's what I'm thinking.
This might be the only time.
Anyway, we'll be right back.
You are now and forevermore warned that you consume this show at your own risk, and that Dart Talk cannot be brought to justice in any court or by any government, including and not restricted to the grand spaghetti monster of the Triple 20.
Okay, back for the second quarter, brought to you by the Dart Zone.
Stay in the zone.
DartZone.com is an official Cosmo distributor. Also, many thanks, Windy City Fabricators and Redwood Darts.
Did that little part of the disclaimer say Grand Spaghetti Monster?
I do believe it did.
Somebody might have to explain to me what that is.
Well, I believe the chat room might be able to help you out with that if you give
Grand
it a minute.
Spaghetti
Apparently,
Monster of
there's
the Triple 20.
Apparently, there's a bit of a lag between the show and the chat room.
Okay.
Anyway, welcome back. We have results. We have
do.
results. I want to say something about this Darts Live thing, though, because I found it a fascinating tournament in a number of ways.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we talked a lot about seeding over the
Yes.
course of this show.
Of the last
hundreds
year
of
and
hours.
a
that
half.
You can actually, by the way, you can find our old shows on iTunes, on Stitcher.com, on TuneIn.com, and also on YouTube if you search Dart Talk. We got a whole bunch up there. Party on. Cheers. And anybody who can prove that they've listened to every single show we've done in 2 years, I've got something for you.
Yeah, a set of flights.
I'm thinking more like, hospital stay or something.
Well, yeah.
If you're going to listen to every single show
Yeah.
we've done. I mean, I tried to go through some of the old
Just bike
ones.
it in or
and
something.
Yeah, it was hard. Anyway, what was I talking about? I don't know.
The Darts
oh,
Live.
Darts Live.
The Darts
Right.
Live.
Well, so we've been talking. We've talked a lot about seeding. So the Darts Live thing, because I got to beat myself up a little bit, failing to achieve total victory on the drive home. And
Right.
I was thinking that the seeding system that they use is as fair a seeding system as anything I've seen. One of the issues that a lot of people have had, and I actually talked to a Cleveland guy in Nashville about this because he's irritated, or I would say that he was irritated about the seeding because he feels that he's being not really dissed, but if he had the opportunity to go to as many tournaments as some of these guys that are seeded, that he would be seeded.
Right.
That there's a lot of guys in every town, every town I've been in, where there are guys that are convinced if they went on the road as often as some of these other guys that they would do even better, right? And
Yeah, but sure. But how do you see it on that aspect?
well, here's what Darts Live does: is you go in Friday night, you play your 2 legs, and you get a score, and it's on the basis of that Friday night and only that Friday night that you're seated, right? So I go in my flip flops and shorts and tank top, throw my 2 legs, and I end up seated 10th ahead of some fantastic players, and I'm in total shock. I'm like, how on earth could I be a 10 seed? Well, I hit one more triple than the next guy, apparently.
Right.
But it struck me as the best way of seeding something that helps out the people that don't always travel.
Is there any way of tanking it, or does it even give you an advantage? Does it matter?
Well, look, I mean, there's a certain randomness to doing it this way because, I got seated ahead of, say, Larry Butler, right? Well, I don't think that means that I'm a better player than Larry. It just so happened that I happened to exceed his score, and so I was seated
On that
higher
day, right.
on that day or that night. I got seated higher than him, and as it turned out, the seeding doesn't really matter anywhere near as much as people make it out to be. Right, Larry ended up being the 11th seed, and little spoiler alert, Larry
did pretty
Larry
well.
maximized
He did
his
pretty well,
draw
yeah.
and won the whole tournament. And
Okay, there are your results for Darts Live.
Well,
There's
well-
your results from
well, no, but-
America's tour
but
in Madison,
here's-
Wisconsin.
Yeah. But here's what I'm getting at. You've got a lot of existing tournaments that I think would really like to make changes, but don't know how. right? They don't know how to go about making changes. You look at Virginia Beach, right, where they take the top 64 NAPTA seeds or whatever list you want to use. I mean, because they've all become sort of like a bit of an attendance thing as far as I'm concerned.
Sure.
But what if you went to a tournament, like we went to Nashville and they played long format singles on Friday night? What if you played 2 legs of count-up cricket by yourself? You just go through all the numbers. You throw 3 at every number. You count your marks, and it's on the basis of that you do seeding. Now, obviously, there's going to be ties and stuff. So the first one to get a 31 is seeded ahead of the second guy to get a 31,
right? And
you see the whole event that way. You give everybody 2 hours, right? And you have to. I think it would be easy to do, and it would be way more fair to people that aren't going to be seated, that feel they should be seated, where it's like, okay, you think you should be seated? Let's see what you got.
Yeah, right.
Right? And if it so happened that Darren Young ended up to be the 10th seed, I don't think Darren would care. If Larry ended up being the 12th seed, I don't think for that one event that they would really care.
Right.
The idea here is the idea behind seeding, if we haven't said it more than 25 times, is to just balance out the field as best you can so you don't end up with these hellacious brackets. And as it turned out, Garden-Dixon, is that what we're calling him now? Garden-Dixon?
Garden-Dixon?
Garden-Dixon ended
Sorry,
up...
Gordo.
he ended up with the top score in the number 1 seed, and he had a brutal bracket.
Really?
Just brutal. Oh, yeah, he was playing all these great players from the round of 64 on. So there's a certain randomness that you're not going to get away from. But at the same time, so you were talking about tanking, you're not going to tank this. There's no way that you're going to be
Doesn't make any
I
sense
think I'm
to
better being the 34 seed than the 29 seed. I mean,
Yeah.
it doesn't really matter. But it adds one more kind of cool warm-up event, something for you to prepare for, something that counts,
Right.
but something that, if you mess it up, it's not going to kill your weekend kind of event, right? So driving back from Madison, I was trying to figure out, why couldn't you do that at a steel tournament? Why couldn't you just have everybody show up an hour early, get on a board, play 2 legs of count your score, and then, seed the thing?
Yeah,
especially if you're
makes sense
seeding
to
it
me,
anyway.
but-
Especially
right.
if you're seeding it anyway. So I don't know.
It's something to think about.
I like the way they do it. I like the way Darts Live has gone about this event, because didn't do much for me. I mean, this 01 Master Out thing was like, by the time I ended up losing to Chris White, I'd lost my mind.
Right.
I mean, I don't know how to play this. I'm going to have to go to some soft hit board or sit down with a piece of paper and a pen and start figuring
do some
out.
math.
Well, I'm not used to tripling out. So
Right.
This was like this poor guy. I think his name was Thomas Reichel or something, that I played in top 32. I'm up 2 legs to 1. We're playing 0-1. I threw like 3 or 4 straight hat tricks, so I got ahead of him. But I didn't look at his score, because I don't really do that.
Yeah.
Right. I just
You're
look
just
at my
trying
score.
to get to your out.
I'm sitting there on 196. I go bull, come to a complete and utter standstill.
At
I got 1 dart
96.
in my hand. I'm on 96, and I don't know what to do. Right. So I'm thinking, well, okay, if should I throw the double 18? Well, why would I leave 60? And then if I throw the trip 60 and hit it, now I'm on a double. I don't want to be on a double. I want to be on the big bull. How
Well,
do you
because
get
in
on the
steel,
big-
it's easy. 96. You
Well,
want
yeah.
dart in your hand,
Right.
you're going trip 20.
Sure.
And
And I stood there literally for 2 minutes going through all these weird permutations. Like, well, trip 14, that's 42. No, I'm still short.
all
well, that'll leave me
focusing
one-
on the bull.
Trying to figure out how to get to the bull, and
Right.
if I don't get to the bull, how not to pass the bull, but then not throw away a dart. And then after 2 minutes, I look at the score, and this guy's over 300, and I'm like, okay, well now I guess it doesn't
doesn't
really
matter.
matter. So eventually, on 96, 1 dart in my hand, I threw the triple 16 to leave 48,
Right.
and immediately I won the match, and was mocked by, I don't know, 5 or 6 guys, because they're like, what difference does it make? The guys, I didn't realize at first the guy was over
Sure.
300, but
That's
I
a-
was.
That's
I
a
don't know
natural
how-
statement.
I don't know how to play. And at one point, a guy's like, hey, I got a soft tip out chart if you want to keep it in your
Nice.
pocket. And I almost died
Nice.
laughing. And I'm like, I'll take it.
Yeah.
It would have saved time if I looked up on the little chart and it said, 1 dart in your hand, do this. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? But what they've done with this 01 is they have taken one of probably the best skill I have in 01, which is finishing, and completely eliminated it from the game, right? Because you can finish on any triple or any double, and it just changes what you throw at. So I just was not comfortable, playing the 01. The cricket's cricket. I mean, this round limit changes the way you play.
A little bit, sure.
I actually had a long talk with Rob Heckman about this, and I tried to get him off this round limit thing, and I got absolutely nowhere.
Right.
And the nice thing about talking to a guy like Rob Heckman is he'll listen to you. He'll understand your point. He'll give you his point, right? And then at some point, he's just going to be like, well, this is how we're doing it.
Yeah,
right?
Doesn't matter.
But at least they've considered it. At least they thought about it. They have their reasons for doing things, which are basically on time. And the one point that he made that I'll share with everybody is he said, look, you got the Americas Tour, but then you also have they have something going in Japan, like they have a Japan tour or something, and then they also have the stages in Hong Kong. So they're trying to make it where you're playing the same format in all three of these, different tours and stuff. So if you change one, then you got to change the other ones and stuff. And this is how they're doing it. So it's like the
easiest
players.
Way.
Well, the players are going to have to adjust, and what's going to happen is that guys are going to just point, and this is what I did. My first match, I was totally paranoid with this 15-round limit, and I don't know how many matches I played that have gone over 15 rounds, but the first guy I played, I think his name was Thompson. I forget his name, but I pointed this guy like in some ridiculous way. I didn't even care about closing numbers. I was just like, well, I got the high
as long
number,
as I could stay out ahead of him.
If I pump in some 9 counts, I can't lose.
Right.
And it just changes the way and the nature of the game. And this is what I told Rob. I'm like, look, you're changing the whole game here, right? You're changing your strategy. You're changing the way you do things. Guys get rounded out. Guys got rounded out in this event in Madison.
I like that strategy, though.
Well, I don't know. I think
you don't have to worry about hitting anything but triple 20s or triple 19s, depending on whether you go first or second.
If you don't get outscored.
Yeah, exactly.
If you don't get outscored. So, we're talking about this with Rob, and Rob's a great player. Rob goes back playing darts way longer than I do, and he's like, well, you're taking a chance there.
Sure.
If you're going to, let the guy point, you're going to get in a point war, you might lose, right? I mean, personally, if you got the 19s and I've got the 20s, I like my chances, but okay. He's got a point there. If you go 5 count, and the other guy's throwing 9 counts, you're in a world of hurt.
Exactly.
And you had your chance to close and move on. So, I don't know. We'll see how it shakes out.
I'm sure you freaked your opponent out, though. He probably wasn't ready for that.
I don't know. To be honest, I could have sworn I heard him cursing me under his breath. And it's like, look, I didn't invent this game. I'm just trying to play it. You don't like
I'm just
my
trying
style.
To win.
I mean, close the 20s.
Right.
Right? If you don't close them and I'm pointing you, isn't it your fault, not mine? Right? So
all right.
I
you want to do these results?
Yeah, let's do the results. Let's do the Darts Live results.
First of all, you said there's an ADO event coming up this weekend?
Well, yeah, everybody's going to Stanford. It's the ADO Club Championship.
Who's going to win?
501 Club Championship. Well, I'll tell you.
Club Championship.
I will pick
the
two
ADO
people.
Club Championship.
The ADO Club Championship in Stanford. I will pick 2 people. I will pick Larry Butler.
Okay.
Right? He won it last year, and the guy just won,
somewhere.
Spoiler alert, he just won somewhere this weekend.
Where nobody picked him.
And
really.
Nobody picked him. Right.
No. He had 2 picks last year.
Yeah, actually, one person did pick him because I got a huge "I told you so" on my cell phone a few hours ago. So,
and number 2 would be?
Well, let me think. You know what? Let's pick. I want to pick somebody. Well, see, I didn't get the list of who's playing. You know what? I'll make our picks after the next break.
Let me run down this, and
let's run down the results.
Peruse your mind on who's going to win.
Do the Darts Live first.
Darts Live, America's Tour Stage 2, Top 16. Eric Blackledge, Steve Panunzi-Elman, Mike Maloney, Scott Miller, Scott Farian, David Fadum, or is it Fadum? Fadum, Jason Nayert, Elliot Milk. Top 8, Ben Durst, DJ Sayer, Scott Kirchner, Chris White, Danny Delfino, and Garden Dixon. I'm assuming that's a typo like we just joked about. Gordon Dixon, top 4. Ray Carver, second. And Larry Butler, your spoiler alert winner for Darts Live.
Congrats,
in Madison, Wisconsin.
Congrats to all those guys. A lot of on-song players in the top 4 there. I I like Garden Dixon. I think that's a good nickname, actually.
Hey, maybe it'll stick. We'll find out.
I doubt it. Okay. And then also, while
And you
we're on
wanna do
results, let's do
your
the other one there.
Event
Yeah.
6 at the DPNY 2013 Players Tour, which was Saturday, August 3rd. Top 16, Tim O'Gorman, Joe Swick, Paul Burns, TJ DeArmas, Gary French, Todd Harrington, Corey Jewett, Matt Traub. Top 8, Jim Newman, Wayne Budgeon, Andrew Van Goverden, James Curtin. Top 4, David Marenthal and Darren Starr with George Timpone. Your runner-up and your winner is Jim Woodmayer. And
Okay.
those are our results for the day.
All right. I will pick 3 guys to join. I'll pick the top 4. And I'm looking
so far
here,
you got Larry Butler.
Well, yeah. And I'm looking here for one particular name to see because what I want to say is Mark Fair, but I don't see his name here, so he may not be playing. So in addition to Larry, I will say Manny Baltier from Texas.
Mm-hmm.
He's coming out of Region 5-3. I don't believe he's ever played a national before. I want to say Joe Huffman, but I'm not sure he's actually been playing much. I haven't seen him anywhere, so let's leave him off. I'll tell you what. Let's take Manny Baltier. We'll take Brian Blake because I haven't seen Brian in a while. And let's see who else we got here.
You're going with the B's. Baltier, Blake, Butler.
Really? Can I get one more B?
You got to get another B going.
Well, there's one I guarantee you I won't pick.
Okay.
that begins with a B. Really? I'm picking all B's?
Yeah,
This
so
isn't
far.
even alphabetical.
You got your
How'd
killer
that
Bs.
happen? Oh, gosh. Pat Jurison. Let me see here. Well, we got the national team guys, too. You know what? Ryan Barnett.
I was going to ask you if you were going
let's
to pick
take Ryan
I
Barnett.
was going to ask you if
We'll
you were
take
going
all
to
the
pick our
Bs.
guest.
So we got Barnett, Blake, Baltier,
And Butler.
And Butler.
Yeah.
Wow.
Speaking of Barnett.
Speaking of Ryan Barnett, the second half of the show, we
Which
have
we're
a
at,
fantastic
by the way.
interview. Are we at the second half?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We'll take a break. We'll come back, and we'll air our chat with Ryan Barnett. You're listening to Dart Talk with Mark, Steve, Chat Room Girl, and Goofy something or other. Goofy
522.
Goofy 522 in the house. We'll be right back.
Dart Talk agrees to adhere to the Geneva Convention in treating fairly its prisoners in their war against lackluster darting administration and behaviour.
Okay, back for the second half, brought to you by the Dart Zone.
Stay in the zone.
TheDartZone.com is an official Cosmo distributor. Also, many thanks, Windy City Fabricators. I don't know if this chat room girl's really going to work out. I don't know.
Give somebody a
It's
platform.
getting
And
kind of ugly in there.
My chatters love me.
We are going to run this interview with Ryan Barnett, and I'm not going to say much beforehand, and we'll talk about it after. And we'll probably take a break. It's about, I think it's almost a half an hour. So we'll run like the first 15 minutes, and then we'll kind of yak a little bit, and then run the second half. Does that work for you guys?
Sure.
Pizza's
Okay,
ready
so
at
everybody,
45.
here's a picture of Ryan Barnett, so you know actually who's talking, and let's run this interview. So for the Dart Talk profile this weekend, we have Ryan Barnett from, where are you from, Ryan?
I'm from Gastonia, North Carolina.
Gastonia, North Carolina. I have no idea where that is. Is that, say, anywhere near Charlotte?
It's about 10 minutes north of Charlotte.
So just outside of Charlotte. Let's start from the very beginning, Ryan. How long have you been playing the sport of darts?
Around 16 years. I started in Winston-Salem. A guy noticed me throwing in a bar and asked me if I wanted to join a league, and that's how it started. About 3 seasons in league, I seen how much I improved, and then about a year later, I started getting interested in going to tournaments, and then it just started from there after my first 2 or 3 tournaments. I noticed how good I was getting.
When you say you started going out to tournaments, tell me about the first tournament you ever attended.
Okay. The first tournament I ever went to was Greensboro Classic in North Carolina. It was a small $5,000 tournament, but there was a lot of good players that are local players in North Carolina. Of course, Robbie Phillips and Brian Blake were there, and Bob Gargan. Those are a few of the better players. And I got to experience the competition level, and I decided to start practicing more and started playing more right after that tournament. I practiced at the time I started practicing anywhere from 2 to 4 hours a day, doing different routines as far as 0-1 and cricket, just to better acquaint myself with the game and to learn different strategies of cricket. And that's why I started practicing that long, and I just wanted to get better as fast as I could.
When you say you wanted to get better as fast as you could, I assume that you had some sort of ambition as far as like, was it a matter of being like one of the best players, or was it just a matter of you got tired of losing to Bob Gargan, Robbie Phillips, and Brian Blake, and you wanted a little payback?
Well, actually, I set myself 5 goals when I first started throwing darts. My first one was to be a North Carolina state champion. And after I started going to tournaments, I achieved that within my first 2 years of throwing after I started practicing. And my second goal was to be top 25 in the United States. And I achieved that within the next 3 to 4 years. And then my third goal was to be top 10 in the United States. I'd done that not too long after I achieved the top 25 goal. And I only have 2 small steps left, which was to remain in the top 5 or the top 10 for a couple of years. And I did that. So now I've got 1 goal left, and that's to be an American world champion. That's my last goal.
So to be an American world champion, I'm assuming that entails going overseas and winning the PDC World Championship?
That is affirmative. That's why I'm playing the PDC North American Tournament and the NWDS with the longer formats, so I can get used to the environment of throwing there. I went to the Masters twice on the BDO side and got acquainted with England and being in that environment, and I like it so much that I've got to get back over there and play full-time. That's my ultimate goal.
So your ultimate goal is to play full-time darts in England on the PDC side with the best players in the world?
That is exactly what my goal is. You know, I see what Larry Butler's done with the World Match Play, and I see what Rogers Carter's done with the embassies and everything in his career, and I want to be better than they were. I want to be one of the, if not the best American thrower in my generation. I want to be one of the best in the world and be acknowledged as that. and I also want to promote the sport through American darts, through North America. That's my main reason to go over there.
Well, obviously you're a man with a plan. Let me ask you, what do you think it's going to take for you to reach the next level or the next two levels in order to achieve an ambition that lofty?
To keep practicing every day, to make sure I don't get discouraged in practicing, make sure I don't get discouraged with my game, keep learning. I always take experiences from every tournament I go to, regardless if it's bad or good, and I learn from my mistakes, and I watch and still absorb different points that I listen to people, that talk to me about what I need to work on, far as my attitude, far as my sportsmanship, far as my professional image, far as anything. I take it all in and do the best thing that I can do for myself and make myself the best player that I can possibly be. And I know that in order to achieve that goal, that I have to go over there and play with them and to get to that goal. It's not easy getting over there by no means, but it takes everything you got in you to do it. It takes a lot of dedication and a lot of determination.
Okay, let's back up a second. I think it's all the good players learn something from the matches that they don't win. Sometimes I think people learn more from losing than they do from winning. Pick a couple of matches that you lost and tell everybody what you managed to take away from a loss like that.
Well, the last really phenomenal match that I had in cricket, there was two of them. One of them I won and one I lost. The one I won was with Steve Brown in Colorado a couple of years ago, where the only reason I beat him, it was the best of three, of course, and the only reason I won the whole match was that I hit one more 9 mark than he did. It was a phenomenal match, and it only lasted about 15 minutes. The one that I lost in cricket was Larry Butler. He just did not miss a triple. And I had played him before and done the same thing to him before. And he beat me so bad, I went up to him and asked, I said, Larry, I says, I'm used to doing it to people, not used to getting it done to me, And we had a couple of laughs about it. And I learned from that. I watched him, and I watched Bob Seneve, and I've watched a lot of the great players over here, Darren Young, Widmeyer. I've watched all of them, and I learned from them, and I see where my mental part of the game too affects it, and I watch them, and I watch exactly how the mental part of the game plays with them, and that's what I learned from my losses. In my early years, I learned from Joe Fatima, which is he's old school now, but he's not playing much anymore like he used to. But he come down from the Minuteman League to North Carolina way back in the 80s, and he was a phenomenal player back in the 80s and 90s. And when I was coming up in 98 and 99 when I first started throwing, I learned a lot from him. And he taught me a lot of different cricket strategies, how not to get ahead of myself. Because there was a lot of times playing him in particular where I wanted to get ahead of myself in numbers and not worry about being about having a point lead. And I would be down a bull or two, and then I would try to go ahead and get ahead by skipping numbers on him. And he taught me real quick that you can't do that and get away with it. He taught me how to take my time, get ahead on the points, at least a bull to 2 bulls before I try to get ahead on the closes. That's just part of cricket strategy. You got 2 basic strategies where one is the close and one is the point. And he taught me how to intermix those points, whether I won't get too far ahead of myself as far as closing real estate as opposed to getting a 2 to 3 bull point lead. So when he would beat me, I took from that which strategy would be best in that situation as far as myself when I'm throwing.
Talking about cricket, do you tailor your strategy based on the people you're playing? I've noticed that, some of the touring professionals play differently against guys they know than guys that maybe they don't know or guys they're not familiar with. Have you ever found yourself tailoring your strategy to the person you're playing?
Sometimes I do that. Now, I try not to do that because if they get used to how you're playing, then they're going to figure out a way to beat you because you play the same way every time. Subconsciously, it's hard to do that sometimes because you see these guys every week and you play the same guys every week. So subconsciously, sometimes it's hard not to. But I try not to tailor my game to playing against them because everybody can play different strategies at different times. So you don't really want them to get used to you playing a certain way.
Ryan, you've been one of the guys that's been traveling all over North America to play North American Championship Tour events. I saw that you were in wherever it was, Nova Scotia or wherever it was, Newfoundland, right? So you were in Newfoundland, you were in Kingston, Ontario, you showed up in Chicago. I know you were in Vegas for the NWDS back in April. And I'm kind of wondering, with all that travel, do you see any way that it's affecting your game in a negative way, or do you actually kind of enjoy packing the bag and hitting the airport and going off to parts unknown?
I get used to it. If you have 4, 5, 6 weekends in a row, you have to watch yourself, because I have a full-time job Monday through Friday, and sometimes it wears you down. But as far as the negatively affecting my game, it just makes my game better, because I make sure that I get enough rest during the week after I get off work. But you have to pace yourself, definitely, and you definitely have to get used to traveling all the time, because especially if you drive, more so if you drive for me. I don't know for everybody else, but more so if I drive more than 5 to 6 hours, I'm really tired when I get home that weekend, because I have to go to work so early the next day, and it takes me about 2 days to get over it. But you really have to watch yourself far as your health-wise, far as not staying tired all the time. You gotta make sure that during the week you get plenty of rest. And in fact, I have diabetes, which really I have to watch playing as much as I do, because I have to eat right and I have to watch my sugar levels. So I tend to get tired a lot quicker than anybody else because of diabetes. So you really have to watch it. And that's for anybody out there that wants to travel as much as we do on these circuits. You really have to watch it, make sure you get enough rest during the week between matches or between tournaments.
So, Ryan, let's backtrack a little bit. I know you said that your first tournament was in North Carolina. Were you born in North Carolina?
I'm actually from Greenville, South Carolina. I was born in a suburb called Berea, right outside Greenville, South Carolina. I went to school. I grew up in Greenville. My father was a cop all my life. I actually grew up in parts of Greenville and Malden, South Carolina, which is a suburb right outside Greenville. I didn't really move to North Carolina until 1990. My parents got divorced when I was 13, and my mother moved up here to the man she married. And I moved up here my junior year, or in between my junior year or senior year in high school. That's when I moved to North Carolina. It was a little town in Mount Airy, North Carolina, which is a little bitty town.
Okay, I'm geographically challenged and haven't spent any time in North Carolina. I'm assuming that you're kind of on the hill side of North Carolina as opposed to maybe the flat side or the ocean side. How old were you when you actually started playing darts?
I was 24 when I picked up my 24 or 25 when I picked up my first dart. Yeah, I'm 39 now, so yeah, 24, 25 when I picked up my first dart.
Darts is one of those sports where it seems like older guys do very well compared to any other sport I can think of. I can't think of too many 53-year-olds winning world championships. Have you noticed your game change as you've gotten older and gotten more experience? I mean, I'm assuming you're a better player now than you were when you started, but a lot of dart players peak in their 40s. Can you feel somehow that you're playing better than you were when you were, say, younger and more energetic, or is it not mattered at all?
I think that as I have learned more, and as I've gotten better, as I've practiced more, I've more mellowed out now that I've got a little older. I look at your older players like Larry Butler and Bob Seneve and Dieter Schutz. They've been playing for years, and they're still really good players. And I look at Phil Taylor, he was in his 50s and winning world championships. And I figure as you get older, you mellow out more, because when I first started throwing, I was a hothead, and I used to get mad at different aspects of when I've lost, when I didn't lose, or when I shot bad. And now that I've got more experience, I've learned that, as far as stamina-wise, you get better. As far as your game, you get better. And as far as you get older, you're more mellowed out, and you tend to learn a lot more, a lot easier.
Okay, so that was the first half of our interview with Ryan. We'll have more after the next break. Any impressions so far?
Sounds like a good ambassador for the game of darts.
Who, Ryan?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's the second half's a little more. I found it fascinating when he starts talking about more about his goals. And
He's
stuff.
very committed.
Yeah.
Obviously, I mean, a full-time job and travel as much as he does, that's a lot.
Yeah, I think he's going to talk more about kind of what it takes, as far as being a dedicated dart player. And I don't know, I find it interesting. I mean, people play darts for different reasons.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, most people play league because they enjoy it. They play because they want to have a good time. They go to tournaments because they want to socialize, throw some darts, have a good time and stuff like that. But there are these upper echelon guys, and we'll have to talk in depth to more of them, because I think a lot of I think sometimes they're misunderstood.
My guess would be that a lot like him, that your upper echelon guys are, once they got the taste, they're the ones that went out and said, I really actually want to do well at this, and they practice more than, the guys that are just doing it because they enjoy it. And some of those guys might get good, but, your upper echelon guys, it's like they catch a bug, and they want to get better.
Yeah, I think so. But I think also a lot of times, you know how people are. Nobody likes to lose and stuff. And I think if you understood how committed and how much time people put in to the game, you wouldn't take it so bad. I for a long time, I was always saying, look, I mean, guys around town, guys that, when I first started playing would beat me, and then all of a sudden they couldn't. And I would tell them, I'm like, look, I put way more time into this game than you do. I mean, I should be beating you. If I'm playing every day, if I'm practicing every day, if I'm going on the road, going to tournaments and stuff, I should beat guys that are playing once a week. I mean, it stands to reason.
Absolutely.
So the guy, when you start getting all these guys that are practicing and committed, playing each other, I mean, that's what you want to see, right? And going back to the seeding and stuff, I mean, you don't want all these guys in the same bracket, so you can play the guy that you play every Friday in a tournament. I mean, it doesn't make any sense, That's the whole idea. That's why this NWDS format is so popular, is because you could play a guy like, Ryan in the round robin, and it's not going to do you any damage. You're still going to be, in a knockout round the next day.
Right.
So anyway, okay, babbling on. Let's take our last break. You listen to Dart Talk with Mark, Steve, Chat Room Girl. We'll be right back.
The views and opinions expressed on Dart Talk are those of the hosts. They in no way should be misrepresented, misinterpreted, or made to claim that the universe is against you, your family, your city, or the darting community at large.
Okay, back for the fourth quarter, brought to you by the Dart Zone.
Stay in the zone.
DartZone.com is an official Cosmo distributor. Also, many thanks, Windy City Fabricators and Redwood Darts. Let's get right back to the second half of Ryan Barnett. I hope that I saved where we left off.
Did you just have an epiphany? All of a sudden, the light went on and...
I'll explain it later. I think I made a little goofy.
All right.
A little goof. So anyway, let's get Ryan on
Goofy.
here.
Oh,
Right.
they said you should be clapping, by the way. You're going to be an in-house audience. They need to hear clapping.
All right, let's go to it.
She doesn't have a microphone. You know that, right? So she could clap as loud as she wants, and you wouldn't hear it. Is what I'm saying.
You can hear me, apparently.
You're right by a microphone.
Whatever.
Okay. Let me see if I can get back to where we...
Let's try this second half here.
Yeah. Let's see if we can get back here.
As I've gotten older, I think that as I have learned more, and as I've gotten better, as I've practiced more, I've more mellowed out now that I've got a little older. You know, I look at your older players like Larry Butler and Bob Sneef and Dieter Schutz. You know, they've been playing for years, and they're still really good players. And I look at Phil Taylor, he was in his 50s and winning world championships. And I figure as you get older, you mellow out more, because when I first started throwing, I was a hothead, and I used to get mad at different aspects of when I've lost, when I didn't lose, or when I shot bad. And now that I've got more experience, I've learned that, you know, as far as stamina-wise, you get better. As far as your game, you get better. And as far as you get older, you're more mellowed out, and you tend to learn a lot more, a lot easier as I've gotten older. I am not as stubborn as I used to be, in other words.
When you say that, it strikes me that what you're basically implying is that there's an emotional aspect that younger players have to deal with that maybe older players don't have much of a problem with. You're talking about mellowing out and being a hothead. Does that mean that, like, when you're younger, you're dealing with emotions that as you get older, you don't have to mess with so much?
I don't know about everybody else, but as far as me personally, I have a passion that I don't know that anybody else has. I mean, what I mean by that is I'm different in other aspects of being as passionate as I am for this sport. I feel like darts is my life, and that's the way I look at it. So I'm very emotional. I used to be really, really emotional when I was younger, and I've learned how to tune that out sometimes. Sometimes it still gets to me. It's a work in progress with me because I'm so passionate and so determined about the sport. So I might be a little bit different than everybody else as far as that's concerned.
You talk about a passion for darts, which I think a lot of our listeners share. Has your passion for darts, is it the same as it was when you started? Is it more so? Is it less so?
It's gotten more and more as I've gotten better. Because, like I said, I set myself 5 goals, and as I get closer to attaining my last 2 goals, I even get more passionate and more determined to make sure that I try to achieve my goal and give 110% to the sport. So it's actually gotten worse over time. Well, it's not really worse. It's better for me because I'm so passionate about it. And so, yeah, it's actually grown over time.
It's interesting. I see a lot of players who come from a family of darters, like a kid whose father played. I look at the PDC Youth Tour where you've got, professionals, kids that are 17, 18, 19 that obviously grew up in a dart playing home. Was it the case with you, or are you the kind of person that kind of like picked up the game themselves and taught themselves as they went along?
No one ever taught me how to play darts. Nobody in my family knew anything about darts. I picked it up on my own. I was in the middle of a divorce, and I met a woman who threw soft tip darts, and she got me into the game by throwing soft tip. That's where I first got my taste for darts. And then I just started when I played soft tip for 4 seasons, and then I picked up steel tip because a guy I worked with come down here from Massachusetts, and he used to throw in the Minuteman League up there, and he asked me why didn't I throw steel. So I went out with him and started throwing steel tip, and I learned a little bit from him, and then I started watching the PDC guys, and I started talking to better players than myself. Around my area at the time was Joe Fatima and Shane Wright were the 2 best players in our league at the time, so I learned from them. And then when I started going to regionals, I met Roger Carter and I met Jerry Hilburn, which are 2 very good players from the Southeast, and started learning from them. And I started talking to Roger as much as I possibly could because I learned what he used to do far as darts, so I learned from him. And then I started watching the PDC guys a lot, and I started learning my outs from them on 01. And I started just talking to Jerry and Rogers where it first started. Then I started talking to Bob Gargan, and he taught me a lot of different outs and different ways to look at strategies. And so throughout the years, I've picked up from different sources. Now, I talked to Larry Butler, Bob Seneve, Dieter Schutz, Darren Young, John Kaczynski when he was playing a lot of steel. And I just picked up bits and pieces and formed my game from different things I learned from them, and then different things I watched and listened to on the PDC. That's how I learned.
Ryan, you've been pretty clear on your goals and your ambitions as far as being like a world champion, and your ambition as a sportsman and as an athlete and as a dart player. But what I'm very interested in is what kind of sacrifices you've made in the past and are planning to make in the future to, realize your goals and make this happen.
So where do I start with that one? I've made a lot of sacrifices over time. I've went through 2 marriages. I have a little girl that I don't get to see as much as I would like. And the premise for the women who were married to me, they both knew what they were getting into, but I don't think they knew exactly to the extent until they got it after they got into it. They both knew my goals. They both met me throwing darts. But, I'm going 25 to 35 weekends a year, so you're losing a lot of time with your family. You're dedicating yourself. You're dedicating a lot of time out of your life to a sport. With myself, I try to practice at least an hour to 2 hours a day now, even now. And, that's time you're taking away from your family, or your time you're taking away from doing something else that may help you or may not help you in other areas of your life. As far as my job, I'm very fortunate in my full-time job. My employer works with me, works around my dart schedule as much as he can. So that's very supportive and very helpful. As far as financially, the financial rewards for darts is you can't make a living in North America. So you have to have a love for the game. In my opinion, you got to really love what you're doing out there, because it's so much time that you're taking away that you have to adjust your life to darts. In my opinion, or in my situation, as far as myself, you have to adjust your life to darts if you're going to be a professional at this sport or in any other sport, because at the top tier of a sport, it's a lot of dedication and a lot of time, and in most sports you have a very big financial reward for that. Darts, not so much in North America. Darts internationally, maybe so. But, you have to get to that level. You got to put the time in, and you got to be willing to make sacrifices to take that time, which is very hard, and it's very hard in life situations. My typical week, from week to week, from dart tournament to dart tournament, usually I leave, if I'm not flying, then I leave after work on Friday. I drive however long, 2, 3, 4, 5 hours to get to the tournament. I play the tournament all weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and then I get done, let's say 5 o'clock Sunday evening, and it takes me 4 hours to get home. So I get home at, let's say, 9:30 on Sunday night. I unpack, put them in the dirty clothes, get me something to eat, take a shower, and then go to bed. I get up at 3:30 every morning to go to work. I work a very early job, but I'm usually home by 1 to 2 p.m. every day. So when I get home, I take at least an hour to 2 to practice. My daily routine is I come home and I practice, I eat, watch a couple of hours of TV, then I go to bed. Same thing the next day. And during the week, like say I come home on a Sunday night, it usually takes me Monday or Tuesday to get over it until I get enough rest so I'm ready to go the rest of the week, and then I have to go right back out again on Friday or Thursday. Sometimes it's Thursday. Like if it's a national, I have to leave on Thursday and fly out Thursday. So sometimes I have a quick turnaround. So it's very hard to get everything you need to get done during the week. Sometimes it's very hard to get all your chores or all your errands ran, all your bills paid before you need to leave. But, that's just all part of the sacrifices that you need to make to get to the level that I'm at, in my opinion. With me, I'm a little different from a lot of people. I'm either all or nothing a lot of times. So to get to the level where I'm at, it's a bunch of work and a bunch of dedication. And during the week, you still got your full-time job and you still got your house to take care of. You still got things you got to do. So, you got to get it done. So you do it as quickly as you can. And, it's always a running thing, especially if you got back-to-back tournaments, 2 to 3 tournaments a month, sometimes 4 in a row, 5 in a row. You got to organize your schedule as best as you can, which is very hard, especially when you're working a full-time job and trying to get everything done around your house. But you have to make time to put your practice in, so I have to make time to practice. And a lot of times, I don't think there's enough hours in the day, but, you got to do what you got to do. As far as your weekends at tournaments, let me give you an example. We're in Nashville, Tennessee right now at the Music Classic. Friday night I was up till 2 a.m. I won the blind draw. I went back to the room, got up at 7:30, went and got to eat breakfast, had to be back in the dart hall by 10 so I could get loose and warm up and get signed up for doubles. And then I commenced to playing all day Saturday, which usually is, anywhere from 8 to 10 hours. If you play in the blind draw, then it's the late night draw. It started at 9:30, then it's a little longer than that. I finished top 4 in a 4-man at, I think it was like 10:30 at night. So there's a 12.5-hour day. And then you go to bed, you go get something to eat, then you go to bed, and you got to do the same thing the next day. You get up 7:30, 8 o'clock. If you're not playing adult youth, if you're playing adult youth, then you get up earlier. I got up this morning about 9, had to be over here by 11, and I'm sitting here now, and it's almost 8. And I got top 4 in men's singles today in the last event. It's supposed to start at 2:30, and I finished about an hour ago. So, you have a 12-hour day, then a 10-hour day. You're looking at close to 22 hours before I have to drive 5 hours home from here. So, when you get home, you're exhausted, and I'll probably get home about 2 in the morning. Then I got to turn around and be at work at 5 in the morning. You do this every weekend, it's very tiresome. And when I get back home Monday afternoon from work, I really don't want to practice, but I make myself practice because I know I have to because, for instance, this weekend I have a regional to throw in. So now I got to be ready for it. So I got to practice. And, I'm tired, but I make myself practice on Monday. And then, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, I feel a lot better, so I put a little bit more time on the board. More so than an hour to an hour and a half. It might be 2 hours, 2.5 hours. And then I'll go again. But this next weekend won't be too bad. It's only 1 day. So I have Sunday to rest up, so I'll be ready for my work week. This week, I'll be a little tired Monday and Tuesday. I always am after a tournament, especially since I have to go to work so early. And it doesn't matter if I fly or drive. I'll tell you why I do it. I feel like that I've got a God-given talent for something. I think that everybody has a God-given talent for something or another. And I happen to think in my life it happens to be darts because I have a hand-eye coordination that amazes me sometimes when I'm throwing. I look at the board sometimes when I'm throwing, and that triple looks as big as a 55-gallon drum, and I could just throw it at any time. And that makes me feel like could be the best at something. It just shows me my talent that I have. And everybody, like I said, everybody has a talent for something. Mine just happens to be darts. And I'll tell you exactly why I do it. Because when I'm up there and I'm in the finals and I win an event, I cannot get that feeling from anything else that I do in my life. It doesn't matter what I do. I could be, I'm a perfectionist at what I do, as far as my job, as far as my house being clean, as far as me practicing every day. Every time that I do something, I want to be the best at it. And at darts, I feel like that I have enough talent to be the best in the world at something. And, I try to convey that to people outside of darts, and it's hard to explain to them the feeling that I get when I win. People people ask me all the time, is there a lot of money to be made? To me, money doesn't matter. To me, this game is all about the love that I have for the game and the feeling that I get when I win. There's a saying, an old saying that says, money won is twice as sweet as money earned. Yes, that is true. But with me, it's not the money that matters to me. It's to me, it's the feeling that I get when I win. And it's even the feeling I get when I lose sometimes, as long as I learn something. You can't get that kind of, in my life, I can't get that kind of experience from anything else that I do besides darts. And I know that I can see myself on a world stage because I had the belief in myself that I'm actually that good of a player. And until the day that I lose that feeling, that's the day when I quit. Because to me, it's still fun. It's still something I love to do. It can be aggravating at times, yes, just like any other thing in your life. But it's still fun. And I still get that fun feeling when I'm playing. And until I lose that feeling, I'll keep playing. And I set my goals for myself. Yes, they're lofty goals, but I think that I have the talent to do that. If I didn't have the belief in myself and determination in myself and in my game, then I would have never, ever thought about being a world champion. It's a fortitude and I don't know how to describe it. It's a determination and a willpower and a fortitude to have an integrity in yourself to achieve a goal. And it happens to be, if I ever achieve that goal, I know that feeling that I get will be the highest feeling I've ever had in my life because I've achieved the ultimate goal in my life, far as darts itself. That's why I do what I do.
Okay, that was Ryan Barnett. Thank you for coming on the show, Ryan.
That was awesome.
To be honest, I don't know Ryan that well. I've hung out with him a little bit, and he's one of those guys that, everybody hacks on. He's an easy target. He's a good-natured guy. We all make fun of him because, he's from the hills and, he's just, he's got a good sense of humor. So he's the kind of guy that you can kind of tease
right.
and, make fun of all weekend long. So we do. But it's the first time I've ever really seriously sat down with him and gotten his take on darts. And, I mean, here's one of these guys that's devoted his entire life to a sport.
Right.
That, he said it himself. In North America, you can't make a living at it,
No.
and he's doing it anyway. And I've never really heard him say, I want to be the world champion, which is, my gosh. I mean, I want to play full-time in Europe. That's
a lofty goal.
You talk about living the dream. I
Yeah.
mean, he's serious. And, I've watched him play this year, and I think he would admit that, he started out the season, not in the best form that he's ever been in. And he's progressively, he's been grinding it out. He's been getting his results. He's making top fours here, top eights there. He hasn't been winning as often probably as he has in the past. But, I think he'd be the first to tell you he feels like he's making progress.
Right.
And it's weird. I mean, it's hard to quantify. Are you improving? I mean, I felt sometimes that I've played better at events where I made top 8 than I have in events that I won. Sometimes it's kind of weird. Sometimes you win for no reason except that everybody that you play ends up one dart behind you. And it's not like you're throwing lights out,
it just
all
happens.
afternoon. Yeah.
There's always a little luck involved in everything. But.
Well, don't tell that to Scott Wollaston.
Right. Well, I'm impressed that he makes himself practice on Monday. I'd be right on the couch after work and say I'll get to it tomorrow.
Well, again, that's why I felt that it was an interview everybody should listen to because, I'm convinced that a lot of the top players, they're easy targets. A top player, maybe, comes off as being a little cranky or something after he loses or a little rude or what have you, or, I didn't like that handshake or, he said something that, well, okay, you could probably take that the wrong way and, stuff like that.
Right.
And I don't think a lot of the, like, somebody who just goes to 1 or 2 tournaments a year realizes, what some of these top guys with patches on
The
their
amount
shirt
of time
and
they're
stuff.
putting in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not only the amount of time, but the amount of dedication and, you talk to Ryan, he'd be the first to tell you, he used to be quite a hothead. And there are a lot of guys, especially the younger guys, where, if they don't win a match, they can come off as being, a little petulant or,
right.
what have you. And stuff like that. And my general rule is, 3 minutes, the first 3 minutes after somebody loses, don't take what they say to heart.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Give 'em a
guys,
second. Give 'em a moment.
Give them a moment.
Yeah.
We're going to have to end the show, but the one thing that cracks me up, and I don't know if I said this on an earlier show, but the first PDC event I ever played in Vegas for the Desert Classic, went down to the very last leg with Kevin McDine, and I blew 78 out to beat him. And I have never been so upset after losing a match in my life. I mean, I was on the verge of tears. I was so upset at myself because, I kind of blew it. All that work, all that preparation, you go in and you blow it. And then this PDC, this Englishman, the PDC official comes up to me, and he approaches me very slowly, and he makes sure that he doesn't come within an arm's length of me, and then very politely says, Mr. Penanciaman, we require you to chalk the next match.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, no problem. And he just slowly backed away. And I was like, okay, now here's a guy who gets it.
He knows.
Here's a guy who's used to dealing with people who are really
Who've lost.
Not only that, but these are people that are really putting it on the line. I mean, it's one thing to just go play a tournament and have some fun, and it's another thing to be looking forward to it, to be putting in all this time, preparation, effort, expense to go to a tournament, try to do your best, and come up short.
Right.
I mean, that's hard to deal with, right? And I think darts is kind of funny. I think older guys, like Ryan's pushing 40, right? And you look at look at Phil Taylor's 53. I mean. And what's Van Gerwen, like 22, 23? Yeah. I mean, the emotional maturity that you get when you're older, I think, really helps you in darts way more than it may in a sport that's based more on adrenaline.
A lot of his point
right?
with him growing up in the game of darts, he was learning from his losses. And, obviously, the older you get, the more losses you're going to have. You learn from all those. You watch people. It's the same thing you said before. Go to tournaments, watch these people, and learn. If you want to get better, watch the top players, and that's what he was doing at the beginning of his career. He was going, watching these top players, learning from his losses, and that's why, with age comes wisdom.
Yeah, I guess my point, we're going to have to wrap it up. My point is if you listen to a guy like Ryan, and if you sit down and talk to him, and unfortunately, at a lot of these tournaments, nobody's got time to really sit down and converse for half an hour, right? You're in between matches. You got to get up and play. You got to get ready for the next event. You got to get something to eat, whatever. But to appreciate the kind of effort and the kind of dedication it takes to be good at anything. I mean, it's not just darts.
Oh,
I mean, you pick anything that men make a life of, right? And I keep thinking of The Hustler. Right, with Paul Newman, where he's like, when a guy's really got it going and he's really got it figured out, it's a real beautiful thing to watch. And I think if more people appreciated that, we'd have more people, that are fans. I mean, everybody's fans of, the local guy and stuff like that. But I don't know. It's just a weird stray thought.
Right. Okay.
Okay, let's wrap it up. The pizza's here. Don't forget. Yeah, somebody's got their priorities. We're going to have a meeting.
Whatever.
You can get old shows on iTunes. You can get them on TuneIn.com. You can get them on Stitcher.com. You can always contact us, darttalk@gmail.com. Hopefully by the end of August, darttalk.us will be useful for some reason on our website.
All right.
And we're gonna have a lot coming up. And also our video archive is if you just go on YouTube and type in Dart Talk US one word, you'll get our channel. All the old shows are up there. Subscribe, and then when we do put it up, it'll send you an email, and you won't have to look for posts on Facebook. We also have a Facebook page. Feel free to put stuff on there.
Right.
You good? You got anything?
Well, one last thing you wanted to mention.
Yes.
Scott's doing after all this thing.
Yeah. There's an exhibition tomorrow night in New York for all the people going to Stanford, and we, of course, wish everybody safe travels going to Stanford for the club championship this weekend. But the U.S. Stars of Darts is doing an exhibition. I believe it's at Percy's Tavern, which I believe is Midtown Manhattan. So everybody, if you're flying in tomorrow, get on the, take the Lex or whatever subway it is. I'm sure just ask around. People tell you how to get there.
Right.
They did it last year. I heard it was a real good time. And one thing about New York is a lot of enthusiastic players. And I'm sure it's going to be a great time and well worth watching for everybody there.
Yep.
Anything from the chat room there, chat room girl?
No.
She's off in her own little world.
Wow.
Hey, but
just
from
useless.
Earlier, useless.
You just said no.
My gosh.
Well,
are you
it's no
kidding
good
me?
if you're laughing at the jokes and you don't tell us what the jokes are. Then what good
Well,
is it?
then log on to the chat room.
You tell him to stay out of the
You
chat.
got
Well,
anything?
not you, other people.
Oh.
You got anything?
Yeah, Darts for Kids website, dartsforkids.com.
Dartsforkids.com if
And
you
they
want to make
still are accepting
Donations.
Donations.
Okay, so
Yep.
if you want to make a donation to Darts for Kids, it's dartsforkids.com. You got anything?
East 51st
No, good
Street
luck to
and
everybody
8th
this weekend.
Avenue.
East
McHale's-
51st. Oh, it's at McHale's.
McHale's Bar.
Okay, McHale's
Pub.
Bar, East 51st and 8th. That is
East
Midtown
51st
Manhattan.
And 8th Avenue.
Okay,
yes.
it's definitely Midtown. Okay, y'all get out there and let me know how
Y'all.
it went.
Don't be knocking y'all.
You got anything?
No, just good luck to everybody this weekend.
Okay, thanks everybody for listening in the
Wish
chat room
Steve
around the
luck.
world, and we'll Dart talk to you next week. Everybody take care. And we'll be around in the chat room for a little bit if we missed anything. Thanks for listening.
Bye, chatters.